Welcome back to the Play by Play podcast. This is a bonus episode where today we'll be taking a look at the recent Zach Lavine, De'Aaron Fox trade. We'll be looking at this trade specifically from the perspective of the Sacramento Kings and the Chicago Bulls to see why these two teams did this deal and how this helps them not only right now, but going on into the future. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below, and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on all social media, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of our ads are down below. And like always, that bar is going to be popping up right here. We're on those social media accounts. You will get to see my latest reactions to breaking news in both the NFL and the NBA. And without further ado, guys, the commentary of the Zach Lavine trade starts right now. Right after the blockbuster deal of Luka Doncic goes through, the following day, the Sacramento Kings and Chicago Bulls try their best to match it, one up it, whatever you want to call it. And while they did do a pretty crazy deal, and there was a lot of moving parts to this, came up a little bit short. But I don't think that anyone was expecting that Luka deal. But now, if you have not seen the full details of the trade, here it is. The San Antonio Spurs, who I will likely be talking about within the next few days, get De'Aaron Fox. And in exchange, the Sacramento Kings receive Zach Lavine, who right now is 29 years old. Spurs guard Saidi Sissoko, I believe that you pronounced it. 3 first-round picks, totaling Charlotte's 2025 first-round pick. They get San Antonio's 2027 first-round pick. And they also get Minnesota's 2031 first-round pick that they received in the Rob Dillingham trade, as well as 3 separate third-round picks of their own. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls go out and they regain their 2025 first-round pick from San Antonio, which I'm not 100% sure, but I believe was acquired through the DeMar DeRozan deal that they had a couple of years back, as well as they get Zach Collins, Trey Jones from the Spurs, and then they get Sacramento's guard, Kevin Huerter. Now, this from Sacramento's perspective to start on this, right? What were they thinking with this? Because Fox wanted out. He wanted a deal. He wanted to try and force his way to the San Antonio Spurs. And interestingly, because this almost never happens, never that a player requests a specific team do they almost ever go there, De'Aaron Fox gets his dream. He goes to the San Antonio Spurs. He goes with Victor Wembanyama. And the Kings actually get a pretty hefty bargain for this. They get a pretty hefty package for De'Aaron Fox. Zach Lavine right now, whether you want to say how much success he has had since his time in Chicago, he is 29 years old, going to be going on 30, so he is right in the athletic prime of his career. And he is looked at right now as likely one of, if not the most efficient player in the league as of right now. I mean, if you look at these statistics, he is averaging 24 points per game on 45% three-point shooting, adding in the fact that he is shooting 51% from the field. The man is a scoring machine. He is one of the top 3, top 4, top 5 shooting guards in the league. I think that you put him right up there with guys such as Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards. I'm definitely forgetting something, but you guys kind of get my drift. He has stayed up there, and he has been a lot more efficient as those guys. Sure, maybe he doesn't have the pure dog scoring of like a Donovan Mitchell. Maybe he doesn't have the certain amount of playmaking that somebody like Devin Booker has. Maybe he doesn't have the swag or the attitude that Anthony Edwards has, but he is still a really great shooting guard in the midst of this league. And like before mentioned, still in his prime. Now, admittedly, looking at this deal up close, it is a little bit puzzling from a fit perspective because we have seen this story before with DeMar DeRozan and Zach Lavine. Heck, we saw it on the Chicago Bulls, and it clearly did not work. Now, some of that you can go ahead and throw up to just injury. Lonzo Ball got injured. DeMar was injured from time to time. Vucevic did not end up becoming the star centerpiece that they really wanted him to be when they traded for him from the Orlando Magic. So there were some circumstances there that maybe were out of Chicago's control. And I will say the fact that although I don't think that the fit is amazing, I do like the fit more next to Sabonis than I do against Vooch. Um, this Sacramento team, their biggest struggle right now is the defensive end. They ranked eighth in offensive rating right now. And I believe the last time I looked at it, they ranked about 19th in defensive rating. So it's clear that they are not struggling at all for scoring. They have a top 10 offense in the league. And with Lavine, his efficiency and the points per game that he brings to this, um, that's going to improve even more, right? But now against Sabonis, going pairing with Sabonis versus pairing with Vooch, I think that that will upgrade what is virtually almost a similar team to what Chicago has. That will boost them tremendously on the defensive end and make them a better team. Not saying the Sabonis is overall going to completely change the dynamic, right, and change them into a all-star level defensive team. No, this team is still going to be in the mere 15 to 20 range as far as defensively, but it is definitely they are definitely going to be giving up a lot less points and a lot less opportunities than those Chicago Bulls did with Nikola Vucevic. Not to mention the fact that the Sacramento Kings have been preparing for this for a while. Yes, I know they did give away Davion Mitchell this past offseason, but now rookie point guard who they've really been wanting to showcase in Devin Carter. He's had some moments here and there, hasn't really blossomed too much yet, but it's still really early for him. But rookie point guard Devin Carter now is suited to pretty much slide right into that starting point guard role. And the special thing is, because you have Lavine, because you have DeMar DeRozan, the ball is not going to need to be in Devin Carter's hands for majority of the time. He is not going to have to go out of his way as a rookie who clearly still needs some time to develop to go out and make big time plays. You have the veterans in place for it. And now Sacramento can just focus on getting him time, getting him reps, and improving and developing him over the course of the year. I believe he sits at about, what is it, 6'2", 6'4", around there. Really solid rebounding guard. He especially is a pretty solid defender, very lengthy, positive wingspan on him. It makes this team a little bit more lengthier. It potentially makes them a little bit better defensively because Zach Lavine isn't a horrible defender whatsoever. DeMar's pretty good there. Sabonis is good there. It upgrades the Kings in the areas that I believe that they were struggling in terms of defensively and in terms of efficiency, because we know how up and down Kevin Huerter was. Now they do away with him. They get Zach Lavine, one of the most efficient players in the league, plugs him in really, really nicely. Now, what I do not like as far as this deal for the Sacramento Kings was just the picks that they got. Yes, they got a lot of picks, 3 first rounders, 3 second rounders. That is a big opportunity for them to go out and potentially get a future star. But when you really look at this, really the only valuable pick is Charlotte's 2025 pick this year. San Antonio, with the addition of Fox, with not having to give up any of their young guys to either Sacramento or to Chicago. They kept Devin Vassell, they kept Keldon Johnson, they kept Shohan, they obviously kept Wemby, they kept Chris Paul. So in a year or two, San Antonio, in my opinion, is going to be looking towards the top of the West. That is not going to be a valuable pick. In Minnesota, while they are kind of on a downward trajectory as of right now, we still have to put in consideration that that pick is in the next 6 years. 6 years. A lot can happen at that point. We do not know who that person is at this point. The player that the Sacramento Kings just got with that pick is in what, 7th grade right now, is 12, 13 years old. Like, we are nowhere close to that even being a valuable asset. That is basically a zero right now. It's really just 2 first round picks because those are in the near future, and only one of those 2 are really realistically solid picks, which is the Charlotte 2025 pick. Now, what's going to be interesting is what they go ahead and do with that pick, right? Who are some of the guys that they could go ahead and look at? Because Charlotte is definitely towards towards the bottom of the standings. Excuse me. That's the pick. That is a pick that Sacramento is going to find very valuable. And with them having pretty much 1 through 5 across the board right now, with Carter, Lavine, DeRozan, Keegan Murray in there, who is also going to help with the defense I did not mention before, and Domantas Sabonis, they're potentially going to get somebody who is either going to be able to give them a lot of depth, or somebody that is going to be able to develop behind those guys, behind those veterans like Sabonis, Lavine, DeMar. Even Murray at this point could potentially step in as an impact vet and go ahead and develop that guy and turn him into that future star. So for the Kings, Obviously, it's a little bit disappointing to have to give up Fox. Obviously, it is very disappointing that he didn't go ahead and work out, even with some of the records that they had in place with coming third in the West a couple of years back, with them being able to pair him up with Sabonis, with DeMar DeRozan. But it's clear that the fit just wasn't working, and it is clear that for whatever reason, De'Aaron Fox, probably because of the numerous head coaches that the Sacramento Kings have had to go ahead and fire, was very frustrated, was very disgruntled, and did not want to be part of the organization. But a pretty solid haul. You basically snag Zach Lavine. You get one first round pick. We'll see what that 2031 pick turns out to be. And if it does end up cashing in, you get two first round picks for there. That is pretty much fair there for Sacramento in exchange. The fit is a little bit weird, but I think that with the efficiency, with the defensive capabilities that they're going to have now, with their ability to put Devin Carter into place and develop him going on further, I think that this is going to be beneficial for them in the end. Now, moving on to the Chicago Bulls, because when I look at the scope of this trade, I take a look at San Antonio, who again we're going to talk in depth in a couple of days, and I like it. Obviously, Fox still 25 years old, pairs up with Wembanyama really well. I take a look at the Kings. At first, when I heard the trade, I was a little bit hesitant towards it because of the fit. I was a little bit hesitant because I'm not sure if Zach Lavine is a winning superstar, right? And to that extent, we're going to have to see him on a really good Sacramento team as of right now. But I still felt that they got draft assets, right? Lavine is still 29, nearly 30 years old, still in his prime. He's very efficient. So that could potentially work out. But once I heard that the Bulls were in this trade, once I saw that Lavine was dealt and that Fox wasn't the immediate exchange for him, I was really puzzled. I was asking myself, well, if not Fox, who the heck did they get? Maybe they went out and they got Devin Vassell from the Spurs, because I haven't really heard the Spurs having to really give up much here. Maybe they got Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. Maybe they're the ones that got Stephon Castle, and they'll be able to put him on a road mark alongside Kobe White. And what they got was just so underwhelming. Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and Kevin Herter and their own first round pick, not to mention the fact that it's not a guarantee, but the Chicago Bulls pick was top 10 protected. And they are within the top 10 as of right now. Again, it's not a guarantee. They could continue to win games with Lavine, with the roster that they had alongside Lavine. They could have climbed the ladder a little bit. Maybe the lottery wouldn't have worked in their favor. But they pretty much already had that pick locked down. And now they have exclusive rights to it. They have that guaranteed, which I guess is all right. But you didn't get any substantial players from this. You don't even really have a player that I think could realistically start for you as of right now. Collins is a career backup. He's a really solid backup center. I do like him. I like his defensive capabilities, and I think that he does a great job stepping outside of the box in the mid-range. Trey Jones, I have been a fan of. I like his playmaking skills, but I'm just not sure if he can really improve as a big time scoring option in the league. I really think that he is simply there to do similar to what his brother did when his brother was younger in Minnesota, which is just virtually to pass the ball. And then you have Kevin Herter, who is solid at scoring, averages about 11, 12 points per game, but is severely inefficient. So maybe Herter's the one that can start. I don't know, but when you look at the fact that you traded away your top star player for these assets, when you traded a guy who, I'm going to mention it 50 million times, 29 years old, in his prime, efficient, and you don't even get a substantial starter, I'm really just puzzled. And it just puts the Bulls in such a harder place within their rebuild. And that makes me think one of two things. Either one, because we've been hearing Zach Lavine being in trade talks for the last, 3-4 years. That either makes me think, A, the Bulls just really did not want to give him up, or B, there just wasn't a big time market in there. Or that it was potentially both. It was potentially that Chicago didn't want to give up Lavine because of the market that was out there. Maybe this is what the Bulls have seen for the past 3 to 4 years from teams like the Lakers, where Lavine has been rumored to go, and they just finally had to pull the trigger before they got nothing. It is super disappointing. And like I said, it just puts them further behind. and what a rebuild is. Because now, Vooch is obviously getting so much older, and it doesn't seem like he really has a market. So even if they trade him off, they're probably going to get a very, very similar package to what they have. Lonzo's back, but by the beginning of the season, he was still up and down in terms of injuries. Giddy's there, hasn't taken a step this year, and maybe that's just because of how untalented this team is. Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, it's just all meh. Matas Buzilas, who I hope that because of this trade, he will get a starting role and he will get starting role type reps and go out and improve himself. He needs to. I'm a huge, huge fan of Matas. I want to see him exceed. So maybe they just do this to clear the field, to get guys such as Patrick Williams, Matas, Kobe White, Ayo, more reps and more time. But still, even with that, these guys have been getting a substantial amount of reps for the past couple of years. And the only one that we've really seen a significant step out of was Kobe White last year, going and becoming a 20 points per game scorer. Pat Williams hasn't turned out to be at all what we thought him to be. He's very, very inefficient. He's not even really amazing at defending or rebounding, where I thought that he would be the most effective. Ayo's been fine. He's pretty much lived up to what we thought he was going to be, which is a career backup point guard. He's solid. He's not great. Jalen Smith hasn't had substantial time with the Bulls, so we're going to have to continue to give that time. But the problem is you got your big time piece around this package was Tre Jones. Tre Jones still has room to develop. Can the Bulls develop him? I'm not 100% sure. You use this to clear the field and make an opening for your younger guys to develop. Can the Bulls develop those guys? I'm just not sure. And even 2025 pick, while this does put them within range, within striking distance of going out and getting a Cooper Flag and Ace Bailey, which with this team, they will begin to pile up losses. They will gradually be getting worse. And because of that, their odds will continue to increase for this number one overall pick. So make it no mistake, the Bulls are going to be in the running for a top 5 pick. So you're looking at Cooper Flag, you're looking at Ace Bailey, you're looking at, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson. You're looking at one of those guys. But even still, there are a couple of these young rookies that have some holes. Bailey's shot motion is a little bit weird for me. I think he's a little loosey-goosey. Trey Johnson, who I'm going to talk about in a couple of weeks, you'll see what I have to say about him. VJ Edgecombe, there's just not a lot on that guy. Like, can the Bulls develop? That is my question. Because nobody wants to come to them in free agency as of right now. It's not as big time of a market as it was, in the 90s, early 2000s, even in the mid 2000s to early 2010s. They've had to rely on drafting assets, but they have not been able to develop any of those assets. In fact, you could say that some of the assets that they have drafted and then subsequently flipped have done better when they're not on the Bulls. I mean, just take a look through all of this. Excuse Matas and Ayo and Patrick, because we saw all these. Gafford was a second-round pick in 2019. The Bulls never really gave him an opportunity to play, even though I knew how great he was as a rim protector and his athleticism. They traded him away. Look at him. He's basically a starting center on the Mavericks right now. You look at Wendell Carter Jr., somebody that I just don't think that they really could figure out what his game was, because he was kind of this Al Horford prototype type player. He gets traded to the Magic. He had a starting center spot for the Magic for a while. Denzel Valentine, they weren't able to develop. Bobby Portis, they did fine, right? But they gave him up, right as they were improving him. It says Yusuf Nurkic, that was a trade to the Nuggets. I'm trying to look down the line here. Jimmy Butler, they traded. I mean, we're getting into the 2010s, so we're getting into some picks that aren't really relevant as of right now. But you kind of see they either A, have not done good at drafting the right names, or B, they've drafted the right names and either have not given them the opportunity, have not been able to develop them. And because of that, they've had to trade them off. And now those players are flourishing under other organizations. So the big question mark for me for the Bulls on this one is A, why didn't you get more value for Zach Lavine? And B, because you got this type of value, are you going to be able to draft correctly? And are you going to be able to take that draft pick and Tre Jones and be able to develop them into suitable starting players? That has always been the question for the Bulls, and that will continue to be the question until they finally answer it and they can officially start what has seemed to be, an 8, 9 year rebuild since they split up that Rose Boozer Noah team around 2013, 2014. So overall, an interesting fit, but great value for the Kings, and a little bit of a head scratcher for the Chicago Bulls. If I had to grade it, I'd look at the Sacramento Kings right now, and as of right now, I would grade it as a B, just purely off of the value. I think a little bit later on, you could definitely grade this a lot higher. You could go a B plus, A minus, A if you wanted, because the value is there. But I think we're really going to have to see how Lavine and DeRozan do next to each other one more time, in addition to a more defensive-oriented center with Domantas Sabonis. And we're going to have to see how picks such as the 2031 Minnesota pick ends up unfolding. So right now, I won't go B minus. I'll go B plus for this deal, because I really do like the value. As for the Chicago Bulls, I'd have to say that I'd have to go about as low as I could go without giving them an F. So I'm looking at a D, D minus. It's just not the value that you want when you go ahead and trade your 29-year-old in his prime, top efficient shooting guard who has been leading your team for over the past couple of years. So a little bit disappointing for Chicago, but we'll have to see if they can rebound. But without further ado, guys, that's all for me today. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the Kings side? What do you think about the Bulls side? What would you grade them? Do you think the Lavine is going to be able to work out in Sacramento and lead them to a playoff spot? Do you think that the Bulls are finally going to be able to climb the big mountain that they have had to climb over the past couple of years and finally build the team that they have been wanting? And overall, who, we still have a day or two left as the time that I'm recording this for the trade deadline. What or who do you think is going to be traded next? Leave those comments down below, as well as like, subscribe, and go ahead and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I know you have Twitter. Go ahead and follow that. All of those ads are down below. They're also in the channel's bio if you haven't seen it. And of course, guys, like always, you already know that bar is popping up right here. Please, what are you waiting for? Stop messing around. Go ahead and follow that, because you do not want to miss my reactions to recent breaking news within the NFL and NBA. Without further ado, guys, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.